I brought this to show you, if you don't mind. Here's my attempt to prevent what is happening now. This is not just only just one. There's 20, 30, 40, 50 of these, and then we went out of business because the media followed through, but Christians put us out of business by calling me a cult leader. Whoa, see that? And here are some of the things that I wrote. These are pamphlets, hundreds of them.
Could you give a formal opening?
Oh, I'll give a formal opening. Hello, this is a formal opening. Oh, in this, right here.
Yes.
Welcome to the Sunday morning discussions. And we'll make this a discussion because I'm not going to read the whole thing, because I can't read my own thing without adding more of my own thing to it. See, so I'm not sure I can read in this light, but I will read something. And this has been going on for, God knows, I'm in my 88th year, and this is in 1972, and this one is in 1988. And I just want to read little bits to you. For example, mind control in America. You'll get all of these copies on my website, and you'll get this one. For this is more spiritual. Understanding the Word made flesh. Can you grasp that? There's a miracle something. Understanding is the Word made flesh, meaning it speaks for itself. And here's one, the key to all knowledge. But this is a pamphlet with 30 pages. Let me read just a little bit of this. Would you mind? Because I never do reading. I never do preparation. There is no prep. I can't be one of those preachers who just has to write something and then read it. I have trouble to read my own stuff. So will you pardon me if I can... It's not easy to read this. It's not even to read it when you have good light. But here it says here, look, mind control in America. It's here, it's real, and it's frightening. This is 1988. Okay. The principles and techniques of scientific brainwashing closely represent the manipulations that take place in many families. Pavlov and the other scientists who invented, that's in brackets, brainwashing early in the century, learned much about the subject, observing, refining, and systemizing the cruelties that take place too often in the family. Want some more? No? I'll still do it anyway. Why should I teach you to manipulate other people's minds when it's blatantly immoral and dangerous? The reason is that I can expose the process. You will be in position to disarm the next person who tries it out on you. The privileged information you're about to learn has been known and used by dictators and tyrants, but lies and the sociopaths for thousands of years, but ordinary citizens have been kept in the dark. I'm trying to read because I'm in the dark reading. Okay. Interesting, you bet you are. Want to know the secret of bending people to your will? Who doesn't? But be warned concerning this dangerous, supreme folly before you enter the game of power. Principle number 1. Before you can dominate others, you must become a victim yourself. Now, where does that come from? That's right in the very beginning. Why become a victim yourself? Because you're not born. Now I'm ad-libbing. You're not born wicked. You're not born evil. You're born innocent. Every baby is born innocent. But they can become sociopaths and psychopaths, beginning with the family. And mostly beginning with the family. So there's not a person sitting here in this room who hasn't been violated by their family. And their family didn't know they were violating. And their fathers and mothers did the same thing. And all the generations back to Paradise Lost, which makes a point. That's how it spread to the human race, through one man's sin and death through sin. Bang, suffering. Cain kills Abel. Bang, right there. You didn't have to get too far away from Paradise Lost. And there's reasons for it. And the reasons for it is men are not men. Men are pussycats or bullies. What was the first experience that set this in motion? You can see it. He didn't listen to what was right in his heart. He hearkened unto the voice of his wife, who spoke. But she didn't speak. Something spoke through her. He had the key to paradise. He could have had even the tree of life, even that. But something dark was there. And Eve was furthest away from creation. She was born from Adam, cloned, if you like. And don't say we can't clone human beings and clone animals. It was cloning. We got a name for it. She took a piece of him and made her. But that put the man in the position of power and to be seduced. And seduced he will always be. Every man, see, I'm not reading this anymore. There's much more to this here. You have to understand where evil begins. As the first man falls from grace and then blames his woman or his wife, it's his daughter, so he's married his daughter. That was the only way it was. And slowly that relationship sort of minimized and became the human race. But through one man's sin and death through sin, where is the death through sin? He actually listened to his wife. But the woman who spoke did not speak from her own volition. She hadn't learned anything, but she spoke from something beyond her, and he listened to it, and they both went to hell, so to speak, and Adam makes the first excuse. And everybody who makes an excuse, because everybody will make an excuse, because as it passes from generation to generation, you are separated by your very family. It's almost impossible to have a family that doesn't screw your head. And not only is it almost impossible, is that in certain countries, the understanding of the processes of Paradise Lost are very well understood by people. Even your child can learn to cry in the grocery store and scream, I want this, I want that. And mother doesn't know what to do. And she's screaming and screaming, please, you want this, I want this. And so finally she gives it to him. And she's taught him that if he's insisted enough with what he wants, which is, he has this Paradise Lost thing in his side, he has this ego in there. Where does it come from? It comes from being born to mother. How else would he come into existence except his mother that wasn't corrected? And she has the power over the man who looks to her for approval because he's fallen from grace to her. And that's the problem. men tend to yield to women, to look for a sense of worth because the first man introduced them into a life of worthlessness. That is, looking that sex and reproduction becomes more important than common sense. I had a person, maybe I may not get to these things yet, but you'll be able to get them on the website. So, let me see if I can find, to pick up the trend of what I was trying to say. And I got away from this, and I may come back to it again. But all of these, before I go into, here's another one. The key to all knowledge. I'll read that one a little bit. Truth is a difficult thing to hear, that is, to hear clearly enough to act upon it the right way. This applies to many of you. Many people come to my lectures, enjoy listening to my radio program, and nod their heads in agreement to every word without once entering into those nodding heads to act on my teaching in a right way. They feast on my knowledge, secondhand, and insights, in spite of the fact I'm constantly warning them from this practice. Unless you find the basic life essence for yourself, as I have, nothing in your life can be meaningful, nothing can be right. So if you're one of those nodding ameners, please note well what I'm about to say. And this is pamphlets. And these are up on these are slowly but surely getting up on the web. And $5, you can download this whole thing. And it looks like this. And you can put it in your pocket. So some of these are smaller, some of the pamphlets are smaller, such as this one here. Understanding the Word made flesh. Let me just read that little bit, and then I can ad-lib, because it's all I like to do anyway. See? But I need to present this to you, that this is available on the web. So every $5 is not very much to download this, and some of them are 20 pages, some of them 20, some 15, whatever. And this one here is about 30 pages, because there's much to say about that. So here's this one. The title of this chapter is not a metaphor. It's meant literally. Understanding is knowledge made live, and it's only in this living form that it's ultimately useful to man. Knowledge which is separated from awareness of its source is dead, and far from being desirable, it is a source of great harm, in that it offers a counterfeit illusion of what reality which man is created to seek. There's enough to start with. It doesn't mess around. None of my pamphlets mess around. There's about 100 of them up there already. And there's another 1,000 or more ready to go. I don't know where I get all this knowledge to read it, because I never went to school. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I went to school, of course, till I was 12. And I couldn't stand the teachers. There's only one man that I remember in all the years I went to school. I can't do writing. I'm not very good at writing, as far as how nice it seems. I could write, of course. That's why I wrote these. And I had an editor. But because I didn't pay attention, I used to get with hand with the ruler, bang, bang, bang. See? So that makes my writing not very pleasant to look at, but I can write. So, oh yes, except for one man, and I actually remember his name. His name is Mr. Brimmerkin. And I remember that. And he was about 6'3", very distinguished looking, walking in the public school I was in. They weren't as bad as they are today, but they were just sufficient. I once remembered, I was ready to go to another level, or where I could go to a higher school, and they're giving me a test. And one of the questions was, who lives at number 10? So I was 12. I said, Mrs. Elliott. She lived next door because I was number 11. So I'm screwed. You see, what do I know? Who's lives at number 10? I'm philosophically bound. I'm not socially bound to all the things around me, which was going to be war soon. But I just wanted to mention, but let me just give a little bit more now, if you don't mind. The writing is a little smaller. Okay, now, the principle of number one, before you can dominate others, you must become a victim yourself. Now you see, when you are born, just by birth, through one man's sin and death through sin, spread through the human race. Got it. Families do not understand this, but they're all screwed. Even the richest and the smartest, and worse, where you have pastors who think they know what they don't. All they got is a bunch of words, and they spend God knows how much time writing something it's very, very beautiful and very intellectual for the sermon Sunday morning. This isn't like this. I am doing this for a purpose because I want you to see that I've developed, in this magazine, it's all of one thing, the religion of modern medicine. See, what you should know about being upset. That's me again. So, international freedom fighters offer a lesson of inheritance over here. Yes, academia, what's going on behind those ivory-covered walls? They're turning them into communists. I've got it all right here. See, a covert psychological war being waged against the U.S. And these are the headlines. And those are not my writings, they're other people's writings. And here is what I'm writing here. Try to understand what would happen. Try to understand it would be impossible for anyone worthy of the name human to call up within himself the ruthless wickedness he needs in order to destroy another person for the fun, the power, the glory of it. The necessity of ruthlessness would have to be implanted from some outside source by the person who destroyed his original innocence. Only only the extremely ambitious ones among us, those sociopaths willing to trade their souls for power, possess that necessary ruthlessness, and once they set out to gain more and more power, they will feel called upon to become more and more ruthless, because power to the unprincipled is addicting. So the ordinary person can originate wickedness or goodness, for that matter. Both, I can't read this, it's too dark. But you see, there's something you need to read here. And it's all there, every bit of it. I want you to understand here, so rather than me talking about the beginning of the universe, which I really wanted to talk about because it's so beautiful and magical, there's something much more important here. Because unless you understand your inheritance, which is upside down, and 99.9% of you are like that, and very few people like me are not like that. And therefore, not being like that is like being put in a reed boat and floated down the Nile River and end up in a princess and become Moses. And even then, there was some good in him so that he could have been Pharaoh, but when he saw a Jewish man being beaten, he couldn't handle it. Deep inside, goodness awakened. And he killed the man with his own bare hands when he could have put him to death some other way, and then revealed himself that he had a conscience. And all of you all have lived miserable lives. You're here because of the miserable life. It wasn't going anywhere. Just like I was reading a few moments ago, which is the key to all knowledge. And that every line is filled with value. Every single line. There's nothing bloated, nothing fabricated. It's real. And so I've written thousands of those, and we're in the process of putting them up. And there's enough up on the web. If you want to just read them, you only have to read the first few paragraphs, and it'll keep going. It won't get watered down at any point. I don't know how I did that. I can only say that you have that ability. You have that creative ability. Everybody has it. Nobody doesn't have it to begin with. I was lucky. Well, maybe I was chosen. That sounds kind of egotistical, but I can't see any reason why that isn't the case, because I've met a few people in my experience just recently, because I'm mature and I had some problems with my health, which was very valuable. All the problems I had with my health by going swimming in the ocean or the waterways my house was built on, the channel. And I ran into some sewage and swallowed it, and it really messed me up. For a long time, almost died many times, misdiagnosed all the time. But on all those experiences, I regenerated. I'm in my 88th year. I shouldn't be here. Everything that happened to me was a miracle. I recover. I suffer for 4 or 5 years, and finally, I'm almost finished. And then little things happen. A doctor friend of mine who became attracted to me is a cancer specialist. But he wasn't married, and he would come and have dinner with us, and we'd go out on the boat together, a small boat, canoe. And he brought me in one day a whole stack of books on med. I wasn't going to read them. It's just a little book on the surface called a Merck Manual. I got my information from that. Yes, that's it. I told the doctor what to do. Bang, it's got better. I didn't die. I would have died from it. Just that little book. And so it went. I'm not going to go through all the agony and suffering I learned about medicine. I could actually be a doctor so much, because if you look at doctors, I'm not changing the subject, but if you look at a doctor, let's say a cancer specialist, he's treating another cancer specialist, which is weird, because he's not supposed to die. He's supposed to be able to help people. How is he dying? And so another cancer specialist taking care of him, and he's going to die too, maybe, who knows, or something else. They don't know the answers. They'll keep you alive, but as zombies. The solution to the problem is also the cause of it. Medicine has a value. Of course, it does have a value, as long as you don't get addicted to it, so long as it doesn't become an enabler. You take medicine as an enabler. Let's make it simple. I don't know where I'm going with this, but we'll see. So, you hear it. Oh, I have a headache. I only need 2 tablets instead of 4. Start with 1. When I have a headache, I just wait to see what happens. I haven't had a headache in years. I can't remember the last time I had a headache. But the minute you take an aspirin, just for the headache, when you don't know what caused it, and then you don't endure it, To wit, I had a grandson, have a grandson. He said, I have a headache, Grandpa. I'm going to get an aspirin or whatever it was. It wasn't an aspirin, it was something else. And I said, just why didn't you just wait for it to go away? Why don't you wait to just see if it goes away by itself? Or see if you were upset or something that brought it on. Well, 10 minutes later, he says, it's gone away, Grandpa. Thank you very much. See? He understood that. And he's become a better person to this very day. Believe it or not, it's easy to talk to him. But what if you haven't had a headache and then you don't know what caused the headache? So now the headache, now the aspirin, or whatever it is, becomes the enabler. Yes, it's over the counter, but it's still an enabler. And so after a while, you need 2. And after a while, you need 4. And then comes an ad that says, well, I'll give you one that lasts all day. Oh, thank you very much. It's still strong, it's just a lot stronger. You are becoming addicted. And so far, you act out pretty good. You're not that far away from, being a whole person, but the journey begins. And so now we have hundreds of thousands, no, millions of Americans, nearly all of them on some kind of medication. And doctors fixing doctors, who needs a doctor to fix him, etc., etc. All they've done is invent a way to keep you alive longer, but wronger. Because if you don't learn from the moment, if you don't understand what's wrong with you, and you just relieve the side of the effect, you may live a long time, but you will be dead while you are still alive. See, you will have died having never lived, even though you're aware and alert and able to converse and communicate with each other. But communicating with each other isn't what it's all about. It's communicating with God, whatever that is, the purpose for your life. The purpose of your life isn't looking to find new secrets of how to live longer. Wronger. So I had a call the other night of a gentleman who was getting better. And he was on the radio 3 times within a couple of weeks, and he was a lot better. And then he described his illness a little bit, I forget what it was. And he says, I forgot to tell you, I'm on drugs. I'm on drugs. And the doctor says, you really need to stay on that. It seems to be doing you some good. It's me. And he's getting better. And he says, I don't think I can handle this problem. I have terrible anxiety when I don't take my medicine. I said, how far have you got? He's good. I've come a long way in these 3 weeks. I said, if you keep taking that medicine, you're not going to get better. So I'm not saying you should do it cold, drop those pills and do it cold. I'm not going to suggest that. I'm going to suggest that you take a little adventure. Because do you understand what anxiety is? He says, no. Well, nor does the doctor. It is how far you are from God. It's a stretch. If that was a rubber band, if you were a living rubber band, you'd feel the anxiety of being stretched, as if you're on a torture chamber, being stretched. You're being pulled and pulled, and the further you're pulled from God, the greater the anxiety. And you can't explain anxiety. Anxiety about what? Anxiety about money, anxiety about whatever it is, it's anxiety. And it's temptation. And temptation plays all roles. Temptation plays every role you can think of that will deceive you. It plays the role of a nice young lady who, gives you her service and makes you addicted. See? And you get into her, excuse me saying this, but you get into her after a while. That's temptation, and she gets into you, and you've got paradise lost all over again. All she needs is a man to say, "Not tonight, Josephine. Thank you for your service." See? Not that she's in the military, if you know what I mean. See? I actually told a person, I'll come back to that story in a minute. A young man called the other night, and he said, "I've been listening to you for a year. I'm doing very good, but I have to tell you something. This is brave." So most people can't admit these things. But he actually said it. He said, he's 24 years old. He says, "I'm looking at a kid in the street. All of a sudden something comes to my mind and says, kill that kid." You say, "Where'd that come from?" "I feel afraid." This is a kid, decent kid, troubled. He doesn't sound troubled, he's clear and articulate. But he says, "I don't know how to deal with that." And this is the early stages of what you see happening today, beginning from family. And every family is broken. I don't care how look good they look when the door is closed and the man puts his pants neatly on the end of his bed. He's not the same person in the morning. I'm sorry to put it that way. It's all sex, it's all pleasure, it's everything. Everything is pleasure, everything is fulfillment. Fulfillment, foolish fulfillment, a fool's fulfillment. And we all have a fool's fulfillment. And so it rises to the occasion of the fool that we are, that we don't know what we are, because it reinforces our foolishness, which automatically seems normal. And the more pleasure you got, the more, but even what fulfills you is anger. So therefore you have more need to be judgmental. And you'll unconsciously create situations where you can judge. You can be an appeaser and still be a judgmental person, and the guilt driving you to the guilt of this, the secret guilt. When you judge as a person, look at it. I'm going to go everywhere I can. When you judge a person secretly, because you're afraid of saying it openly, so you get the pleasure of judging him secretly. But what it does, it causes guilt. And because you're a halfway decent person, you feel guilty for judging. Only God judges, but you're God judging that person. But you're also a person that forgives them, appeases them. Well, I feel guilty, maybe he is right and I'm wrong, maybe I should love him more. Give him something like God's love, but it isn't God's love, it's an enabling the bully. You can't get away from it, because to judge leads you to have to forgive. And therefore you have to forgive. Guilt drives you to appease, which is like forgiveness. You can't forgive. Once you judge, you can't forgive. The judge is the guilt, and the forgiveness is the guilt. So you make everything worse. You can't stop, because Adam played God. He chose to the knowledge of good and evil, so he could judge what good and evil is. Guess what? It's upside down. The good people are the bad people. The evil people are maybe the good people. And maybe the bad people can have a streak of good in them, and maybe the good people may have a streak of bad in them. But you're playing footsies with the devil, because you do not have the solution to your problem. You've only got the problem to the problem, because you are playing that role. There's no way back. You're all dead. See, I don't mean to be rude. I'm just making the point because I see people with all shapes and sizes in here, and the shapes and sizes tell me you're screwed. What you need is to carry yourself as a dignified person, not an ugly, fat, whatever it is you want to call it. Because you're born beautiful kids, but look at your face, look at yourself now. I can tell her she's a coward. I don't mean to be rude, but she has been. She's better now. But it's taking a while because she's mature and she's married. You haven't got any kids, have you? Okay. So the point is, she's recognized it, and she's come here many times. I do like her, I respect her. But she is getting more bold, and her husband is also the same way. But if you could start early enough, or even in your old age, to drop the judgment, to drop the appeasement, and get some balls even if you're a woman, or give them back to your husband, whatever you want to do. Pardon the vernacular, but it does make the point. That's the usual way of saying things, isn't it? And I don't know, am I a preacher? I don't know what I am. I'm just a mouth. Opens and closes and things come out. So where are we going to go with this? So I talked to the young man. To the young man, first of all, I said to him, I want you to know this. How many women have you had? He said, a few. When you got into her, she got into you. You're dead. The only way you can get into a woman is in a proper way. You get married and you take your time. Not like me. I got married in 2 weeks. I was an idiot. But it worked out all right. It worked out fine. I got some good kids.
You've been so anxious.
Yeah? No, it wasn't. It was
a chance to grow up.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. I don't want to go into that. Just have to be honest about myself. I have no regrets, and she has no regrets. But she's a tough nut to crack, I have to tell you.
All right.
And she hadn't cracked yet, but it's okay. I'll keep trying. But anyway, I don't want it to be with you. When you ask what it's like to be married to Roy Masters, she has me on a pedestal. That really destroyed it. She had me on a pedestal. Then she took me down. That is another problem. See, this judge put me on a pedestal, and then feel subject to my pressure, which there wasn't any. It became a pressure because she felt that she was melting into me. See, and then feeling lack of freedom. Because she was compulsive in order to get my supposedly compulsive approval. I never gave it. I don't give her approval. I don't push her down. I don't build her up. She was doing that to me. So therefore she was bringing about her own downfall, in a manner of speaking. But never mind. She comes now, she's listening and she speaks up. That's good. And she's overcoming her little problem she has with memory. But sometimes it takes a person a long time to grasp the simplicity of what the solution is. And so let me go back to the two callers. One with the drugs. One that said, I don't know what to do about these drugs. Let me go to him first. I says, you're afraid of anxiety. Anxiety is very, very painful. And the more you take drugs, the more painful it gets. And you'll end up with suicide. Anxiety kills people. And the pills embolden the anxiety. Because it makes you feel what you don't deserve. It makes you feel better. It's almost like redemption from the pain of suffering, whereby redemption cures the pain at the source, because it is the source of your salvation. But when drugs become the cause of your relieve the cause of your suffering, then who gives you those drugs becomes your God. It rises from below, even though whether it's legal or illegal, it's the same thing. Doctors, heal thyself. They're taking the same medicine as you and dying the same way as you. And one doctor will treat the other doctor for the same malady. And here we have doctors treating people dying themselves from the same thing that of the people they've killed or nurtured or enabled and prescribed. See? But the value of it, to put it in a proper perspective, is to help you live longer, long enough to see that this is not doing you any good, that you have to find some way of getting rid of all those drugs and all those solutions. So therefore, drugs and whatever they are, solutions, whatever they are vital, because you're born in sin, so no wonder you're going to messed up. You're going to have all kinds of problems with you throughout your life. And it will need some kind of treatment to help you live a little longer, but become a little wronger. And it allows you to, in this day, it allows you to live longer, but always wronger. Where you would have died at 40, you're dying at 80. See? I think you're better off dying at 40 than 80 because the hell won't be so great as when you die from 80. You see? My father died at 42. But from a thrombosis to the heart. I had heart stuff like that. I swim in the ocean and I got parasites in my body, and it's a long story. But I grew new arteries. That's it. And that is very rare. And I asked the doctor, how is that? He said, we don't know, but it is rare. But why is it rare for me and not for somebody else? And then I learned the secret of it. And you can ask me that if you want to, because it's something I could share with you later on. But I just want to finish my stories here, because I keep on running away from the stories with relevant information, I hope it is, and come back to the person with the pills. I said, why don't you do this? You're much better now, aren't you? Yes. And so the betterness is from your realization. Yes. I want you to realize something which is difficult. You have anxiety. And anxiety is the stretch, like the elastic band, stretching. The temptation pulling on you. Around now you've got this doctor legally giving you drugs. You're not going to jail for these drugs. They're very powerful. I said, why don't you just take a deep breath and say, I'm going to just experiment. Just put the drug aside now. It wouldn't have been good had he not been advancing. So you can't say that to the average drug pusher, addict, because it won't work. You go crazy. But if you have the light will shine. You'll see that that anxiety is the light that's shining on the malady. And it's not just a malady, but it is a spirit that's pulling on you, and then rising to take the pain away with illicit methods, as I described. You can have it from the doctor. You can't cure a metaphysical problem with physics, with physics, chemistry. Can't cure it. You can relieve it, but it becomes a form of temptation. Even food becomes a cause. Food takes away the anxiety. See? And the more you eat, the more you want, because now it's played its proper role, because food is synonymous with temptation. It comes through the women. The women are anxious to make a husband happy. Those who are, which are many of them are, try to make food nice for their husband, super, super, super nice, or with all kinds of tastes that don't belong to the object, to make you eat more than you should and eat the wrong food because it tastes better than the ordinary food, which isn't strong enough to take your pain away. See? It's not pleasure enough. See? So you see all kinds of fat people walking around the street, and they're dying. My daughter's fat. I wish I could talk to her, but she's getting, slowly but surely, she's getting fat. She's getting rid of her hostilities towards her mother and stuff like that. So the sickness comes through the women, enabled by the men. Simple. Men look to women for approval. Stupid idiots that they are. But stupefied idiots, very intelligent, and some of them are so intelligent, they make a lot of money. But they need support for that. Someone who loves them for their ambition, when their ambition should be seek first the kingdom of God and all other things to be added. But having been broken as a child, the purpose of life disappears, and the intelligent child tends to also be deceived, and therefore sets out to substitute for the life that leads to life, to the purpose that leads to death, which is setting a goal for him, glorious goal, being a great chemist, being a very rich person, and everybody clamoring around him, and hoping that he will choose them as, yes, did you?
No, I was just scratching my face.
Oh, he's scratching your nose. That you ruined my whole program. Would you mind taking that nose outside? So you see, because we have lost our way, we do know we need a goal. And some people abandon it, become on welfare. What's life all about? Just drinking, smoking, and selling drugs. Okay, right? The other person is actually achieving something. That's also bad. The purpose in life is how much money you can make and how many pretty girls you can have on each arm. You know, with how much you can impress people with the nice new cars you got every week. By the way, I like Donald Trump. I like him.
I like him too.
If you could forget me, if I just, for the hell of it, let me interrupt. If he's leading the troop, all the others are just kids. You can see how stupid little kids they are. All hopefuls. They don't know what to do. But the minute the enemy sees him coming, they'll run for their life.
We'll go back to Mexico.
And myself, you haven't never heard anybody on the radio. We don't intercept the calls. I take the calls as they come. In 55 years, nobody's fight me. I'm talking about the media being communists and Marxists. Marxists who think they're American because they went to one of the public schools and universities. That's where I go if I want to take over America, because people who have education have got all knowledge and no common sense. I got the common sense, which is better knowledge. It's not only the knowledge better than they have, because it's come from my Creator. I understand how the universe works. I literally do. I know how to help soldiers who are dying, 22 a day. I can save their lives. I can't get in there. I spend all the money I can to do that. But the ones that got my materials got better. They all got better, with a few perhaps exception. Where did I get this information? Nobody give it to me. I don't want anybody to give it to me. I want to see it for myself. And seeing for yourself is power. In other words, you see, one of the best things you can do, which is the hardest thing to do, is to see what your problem is. Oh, I see that. But the minute you see it, you feel guilty, see, and you want to fix it, or you want to hide it, but you're dead. The light, you just said goodbye to the light. That if you just stood there for a moment and say, oh, I see that, I can remember my whole life. Oh, I see that. Oh, I see that. Goes away. Now coming back to the man who's taking the pills. And he's much better. Tremendously better. But he's got those pills. I said, why don't you just experiment? Not take one for a little while. If you have to run back to it, okay, that was roughly what I said to him. But if you just watch the anxiety and just watch it and not get frightened, not panic, just watch it, before you know it, you've forgotten it. Look, it's almost like you went to sleep, and what happened? It went away. You'll feel it for a little bit, but what happens is, all of a sudden, you seem to lose consciousness about it, and you're going about your business without anxiety. That's how it works. But when you try to not to take what you're addicted to, food, that's dangerous as any drug. Anything. Sniffing glue. You name anything that's excess, but that as an excess. Stamps, stamp collecting. Oh, I've got the best stamp. Nobody's got this one. It's worth billions of dollars. I want to look for another one because it wears off. It's not enough to walk around with that one. You need a bigger one. See? And God happens if somebody takes away your stamps. You fall apart. The anxiety catches up with you. And you die. You shoot yourself because your anger is coming up. That's the only way you can get rid of the cloud that's following you. The cloud that you have called anxiety. Because you don't have your stamp. Someone took it. And you hate the person that took it. Well, now you've got more anxiety. And you hate your anxiety. You feel resentful towards your anxiety. So you bury it. But you can only bury it so much. And then it becomes all kinds of other diseases. So you can fix one disease with a pill. Yep, it comes up in another one. Yep, and then you got to cure that one. And your whole life is chasing medicine and drugs and women. With all due respect, you have a potential innocence in you that looking for a man to love the hell out of you. Or looking for a doctor that can love the hell out of you. There aren't many like that. Who's not interested in giving you drugs, but giving you good advice, if you can take it. I have a doctor. His name is Titus. Professor Richard Titus. He's in, I have lots of doctors, of course, who do the same thing. This one is a professor at the university, at McMaster's University, up in Canada. And what he does, he gives them the meditation, and he says, you can go to my apothecary when he's in the same office, same building, and he got a prescription for it. Promise me you use it, and I'll give you some medicine. See? So 6 months later, a month later, the first time he did it, the man comes back, he says, what did you do to me, doctor? He says, nothing, you just found who you were. He said, I have stopped taking the medicine too. I don't need it. You saved my life. You saved my heart. My heart's better, I can tell. But you've also saved my soul. You need to save the soul first. That's why he said, take the meditation exercise. And promise me use it twice a day. Now, there are people that won't work on it because they're sort of psychopathically inclined. They're the people who, when they're born into a family, like the way they are. They like to be the power. As I said in the beginning of my article, I said the bully, the tyrant, Adolf Hitler, had been screwed by his mother. The hatred was put into him. And he was brilliant. Obviously, a brilliance gone wrong. But he discovered, he knew what I have written in this article. He knew it. But I'm publishing it. And the people around the country didn't like it, so they make sure someone calls and says I'm a cult leader. And so my 70,000 and growing gone away. No more support from, advertisers. That's what it takes to run this. What I'm left with is a radio program. And even my radio program now is on commercial stations who have given it to me free as a public service. It's beginning to be that way because they can't have a person like me to say the things I do and expect to have advertisers. So they put it on there for free as a public service. What can you do about that? That's why I need your support, ladies and gentlemen, because you're not going to get it on Fox. They can't say what I'm saying. They won't call me up there and interview me. That's too scary. How are you feeling? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Actually, yeah.
Would you like to make a statement of what you just learned?
Yeah, I learned that, is this thing on?
Yes?
I learned that until very recently that there is something very dark inside of me, and I never really understood what it was. I never understood that the anger and resentment that I had towards my father had been killing me, and everything that you say about mind control and all that stuff, it's all very connected. And I understood that from an intellectual standpoint. I understood Adolf Hitler and all that, but I never made the connection with myself.
I can see that. I can see that in you. You've come a long way to talk to me, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was falling into things that, that darkness, it's funny because it's like almost like 180 degrees out of phase. That's totally different than what I am, what I want to be.
I know that.
And it's like, and even the hypnotize and all that stuff, it's like, I had my own drug, if you will, for quite a long time.
What kind of drug is that?
It was pornography.
Oh, pornography, yeah.
Yeah. And I would hate myself for doing it, and I always identified with that thing.
You couldn't help but do it, because the more you hate yourself, the more hate awakens the sensual aspect of you.
And
the hungers, the sex, everything.
And I kept focusing on that, like, well, there's something else wrong, and every time I felt anxiety, I always hated myself for it. I never identified that thing that was in me.
Hate causes you to become more abnormal, more, the right word is, oh dear, what's the right word? Sensual. In other words, less sensual, better. More sensual, worse. Called addiction.
And I was hiding it, though, from my friends and everyone that I loved. And I thought I could just... But you have that
nice look on your face that says something better about you. I recognized when you came in the office just now. It's in you. And that's why you can hear me. Otherwise you would have run out of the room, like a lot of people do, from what I just said. You like what I'm saying. See? That's why. Have you meditated yet?
Yeah, I meditated as soon as I came back to Oregon last week from my last job, and I meditated, and I saw that thing. It's, I had a conversation with your daughter, and
yes.
After I got off the phone with her, I realized that she was talking to that thing, and I saw it in me. It was like this weak little, spineless, blob, like from the movie The Blob or something. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, it does. The women have taken your life away. Now let me tell you a little story, can I? And you can talk to me afterwards. Yeah? So, this actually relates to the person who said, the mind said to him, all of a sudden, from nowhere, kill that little kid in the street. He says it shocked him. This is what I said to him, say the same thing to you. Do you realize that that which said it to you isn't you? It's come from a long line of relatives, all the way back. It entered the human race through one man's sin, and death through sin spread through the whole human race. So in some countries like America, we used to be, well, we're halfway there. But slowly but surely, we're almost all the way there. America was hard fought for, but the agents, I'm speaking about the Russians and the Soviet Union, is not there anymore, of course, but the Marxists, which still is infiltrating all of our universities, music, everything. And slowly but surely, we became demoralized people, and demoralized people elect a demoralizer that loves them the way they are. And he's up there. And see now, fool you once, shame on you, shame twice, shame on me, right? And so you see how suggestible we are to the dark side. So coming back, I said to him, have you been into many women? And that's where it is. The women need to be relieved of what they're born with. A man born a woman doesn't understand that, because she's temptation. It's more than sex. It is something more. It awakens the sexual feelings in an unhealthy way. And men fall for that. Or men strive for that, thinking the answer is in the women. See, and do their best to get into as many as he can. See. And so this man, young man, was 24. Sounded like a decent person. I asked him about that. He said, yes. I said, you've been possessed. It came through the women, especially through your mother, because your father didn't know how to deal with it, and his father didn't know how to deal with it. Your great-grandfather didn't know how to deal with it. It's all the same. Nobody's different, except it gets worse. It's exponentially. If you've got 5 people in the family, 4 people, it's exponential. You breed like flies. More like them. More animal than human. But this, because we're all doing it, seems human. So everybody's doing it. So where's the contrast? I'm the contrast and you shut me down. That's what happens in Hitler Germany. That's what happens in, Far East with Muslims and cannibals. You haven't got a chance of a snowflake in hell if you're born in Germany where Hitler was there. Because everybody's infected. I mean, to the nth degree. They elect the devil. That's what we did. That's why we're falling apart. Because your immaturity, your infidelities, all guilty. We have a moral compass. That's what we must obey. And we have to be still and know. Now I'm going to get to go back to him again. I've got a lot to say about things before I come to the answer. You'll forgive me, please. I said to him, did you realize that this is not you? He says, not me. I says, you wouldn't think of such a thing like that. But something in you put that in your head. And it's been there lurking for a long time. And since you have been meditating for a year, all of a sudden it feels like it's being watched. It doesn't like you becoming conscious. It doesn't like the light. And suddenly it has to do something about it. And that's what it did. It put that in your head. And it's done that to people for millenniums, all the way back to Paradise Lost. Nothing unusual about that. Nearly, how many people in this audience have thought of suicide? Please put your hands up. Thank you. That's nearly all of you. Did I not say that, Anne, this morning? Thank you. See, that's it. But you've thought of it, but you didn't do it. But you're dying from something else. But But lots of people, if you put them under enough pressure, they will do it right away. Like the black lady in the jail just recently when the police officer arrested her because she wouldn't get out of the car. And they put her in solitary confinement for a while. And then she had this post-traumatic stress disorder and she couldn't handle it. Bang! She wants to kill herself with a plastic bag or something. The pain is too great. It's better dead than have all that pain. You'd rather be dead. There's no pain when you're dead, so you think. It's bloody hot down there, I can tell you that. See? No, the soul doesn't die, you know that, don't you? It goes somewhere. The soul that lives unto God is taking shape inside you. Not as a person, physical. Physical can't enter the kingdom of heaven, but the kingdom of heaven can enter into you and grow in you and prepare you for eternal life. Jesus made that point. You actually saw him recover and then disappear because he doesn't belong in this dimension. He can be here wherever he wants to. He can be on Mars if he wants to and not burn up. The universe is magical, just simple. Someone did that. And someone who did that to him created the universe. He's a magician. Isn't God a magician? I don't even know, I'm not terribly sick, but how do all the little cells in my body know exactly what to do for themselves and cooperate with each other? Look, I cut myself, he knows how to, all the little things come like the fire brigade to fix that. I don't know how that works. I have no foggiest idea. I don't know how my brain works. I have no foggiest idea. You can open anybody's brain and still not know what's really in it, except flesh and blood. You can't see the mystery of it. I think I'm just a walking miracle. I'm alive. I was actually eating a steak the other day. That was about 2 weeks ago. I don't get many. She don't like cooking. Anyway, so the point is, I'm chewing them. I said, how's my jaws going up and down? That's interesting. I never thought of that. They just seem to be working. Seems to know what to do with this stuff. See, I can see that I don't know how this works. I don't know how I'm talking. It's coming to me. I do have a bad memory, but I didn't have a bad memory for the little story I'm still trying to get to you. I said to you, coming back to this person, young, 24 years old, I said, if you can see that you've been infected by a dark thing that everybody has and don't know they do, because they like what they get, they like their dope pusher because they're dopes and they like to stay dopey because they have enough money and they know how to do it. If they have to steal, they'll keep doing it, and the dope pusher will ride it up. And also, of course, he's got someone behind him all the way back to the dark jungle of South America. It's a whole system of things. But it's all these people who take pleasure on your suffering. See, they take pleasure at it. They have power. But there's another kind of power of an Einsteinian quality in all of you. I have that. But I didn't give it to myself. I don't know why I've got it, but I have when it comes to science and helping you. I started to read, I couldn't do it. I gave you enough. It's dynamite in there. I can't say it better. It's all condensed, but it's dynamite in here. Every one of these. And one you pick up. And I want everybody to remember, if you just joined me, there's on the internet, you can get these now. There's about 100 of these up there. There's going to be 1,000 before we're finished. And even the magazines, you'll be able to get copies of them. And you all have something that you should have got a long time ago, but it was blocked. I've been shut down in so many different ways, but I don't give up. I'm going to do my thing, whether they like it or not. So I have perseverance. And if you have the perseverance, I know you have, and you're appreciating what I'm saying, because I'm not preaching to you, I'm explaining something I know to share with you and to be a witness to it. And all you need is me to be a witness, and then you know what that's like? Is you forgot my name. And so I just went to lecture. Oh, who's lecture? I'm trying to think. Where is it? Oh, in Grounds. Oh, Roy Masters. Oh, yeah, Roy. But you wouldn't have said Roy Masters if you didn't have it in your head. You couldn't agree with it if it wasn't there. Is that correct? Look, all I'm doing is bearing witness that you had it when you were a child. So you are not guilty of anything. What is guilty in you is that thing that got in you through your parents, through the failing of your father. I don't care. He's either a bully or a what's the other one for an appeaser? Which one is it?
I think my dad was both, actually.
Yes, you
My
can be
dad
both.
was-
You can be both.
He was not very physically abusive to me when I was a kid, but he did threaten to kill me once.
Yeah, but the point is, he wasn't strong enough to deal with your mother. You had your mother's influence. Every man who was a bully or a coward, not a coward, but an appeaser to the wife, emboldens the woman's, and she hates him. She's a good woman, she'll hate him. Of course, it's not good to hate, but she'll hate him because she needs him to say no. She needs to say, not tonight, Josephine. See, she needs him to say, because she's unreasonable. There's an unreasonable side to a woman that tests the man to stop her, because she cannot stop. And then if you're a man that appeases, she gets worse, and you get weaker. Or you could get so angry, you could actually get angry and frighten her into submission. There's all kinds of variations of this thing. And the children inherit it because it's there in the woman. And she can't help it. I will not blame any woman. I will always blame the men. Always. It's their fault that we have. But the point is, it is a fault. And the men need to see this. But we have a country now where men are sissified, aren't they? Because we know you can conquer nature with a bunch of sissies and women in power. And when women in power, they have children, and most of them can't take care of the children, so therefore they got the government, and the government is the father, or gangs. Goodbye, nice knowing you. Divine order destroyed. Everybody suffers now. Sooner or later, you're going to have hell here. You're not going to believe what you see. It's already late, unless I can be more prominent in my work on radio. And by the way, I could talk to my audience this way. You can support my program. It's tax deductible. I'm a 501c3 equivalent to Catholics. That's a pretty good thing for a little tiny organization. So I've had that since 1988 or something. So, let me see. So I said to the young man, can you see that you got into women, and what is in women came into you, and it's talking to you. It owns you. And you didn't know it was there. As long as you're having your fun, you didn't notice it, but now you've stopped. And now now the light's coming back, and it doesn't like that, so it's going to frighten you. And it can make you do this one day if you're not careful. It can make you do it unless I talk to you that it isn't you. All I want you to do now from this point of view is to really see that you're possessed by something, and it can talk to you like God, but it uses words. God doesn't use words to talk to us. I'm talking to you, he's talking through me, so I can use words, but I can take what he puts in my mind and turn it into English, which is my only language. See that? So I'm able to, but you can see where I'm coming from. It isn't Roy Masters that's speaking. I don't have a good memory for anything. I'm an old man. I don't know my wife's birthday. Excuse me, I don't know. I really don't. I don't remember anybody's names. I like people, I can't remember. I have bad memory. But not when I'm talking. Nothing else matters to me. This is my physics and my caring of my wife, of course, and being a good grandpa to my grandchildren. All that comes with it. See? And they grow up to not have the problems that they would have. Because the grandpa is chief cook and bottle washer in this family. But most families don't have a father or a grandpa. All they have is gangs and government handouts as their authority, and lies, and reassurances. And so we are growing up. So, coming back. If you can realize that you have thoughts like that, you don't have thoughts like that, but you have thoughts that don't belong, that you know that you don't like. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Everybody has that. But this one is very special, and that's why I use it. Yeah, but all those others are just as special, but this one's super special because we have people being murdered all the time, little kids in the street, and parents killing their own kids and beating them to death, etc., 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 or beating them into submission so they can't grow up right. It's all parents. And not blame the parents because their parents didn't have it. And it goes all the way back as far as you can go. Cain kills Abel. First generation. Get it. That's how dangerous it is. He also had thoughts that come from that. And nothing is spoken about in the Bible. I speak about it. We cast out, the Bible speaks about casting out devils and things like that, but there's not enough substance to enable you to do it. Or I tell you, I've had the experience of being, having an exorcism. I had it myself. I got it by being married. I got it by being married because she has inherited it from all the others who gave her nothing else but misery and suffering. And she couldn't help but being, she's born innocent. You're born innocent. I'm born innocent. I've kept mine to some degree. I had it. I was carefree. I couldn't learn. I wouldn't learn. I say, screw you, you're dead people. I can't listen to you. That's my attitude. Not that it was exactly set that way, but I saw dead people as my teachers. Only that one person, Mr. Brimmican, I remember because he had a quality about him that was around him that I took notice of that. And he looked at me and smiled. Hello? Yes. Huh? I am not talking in the microphone? Did you hear me? Yeah. Well, I think you need to get the wax out of your ears and try again. All right. So I want you to understand that what you think is not your thoughts. If you can stand back for whatever problem you have, it's just too loud. Don't pay attention to her if you don't mind.
I'm not talking.
No, it was a bit too loud. I can hear my own self. But anyway, if you could just look, I told that young man, just understand that when you look at it, know that it isn't you. It's talking through you. And it's been going on for a long time and drawing you back to the scene of the crime so that you'd feel better and enable you to be more subject to it. And God knows what would happen if you continued like that. And you know what? He understood it. If you see that it isn't you, then you may feel anxiety immediately because you've separated. You actually say, yes, that's not me, but you can't fight it because it owns you. So what do? But you don't have to do anything because the fact that you can see it, I'm helping you to, I'm verifying that you are looking at your fault. You're looking at the thoughts that want to make you do stupid things. Go back to the women, etc., etc. Lie, whatever it is. You can see this. And if you can see this, stand aside and don't do anything about it because you cannot save yourself. Let the light shine on it. No words. Mum's the word. No words. Okay? just watch the anxiety, watch the thought, and say, if you want to say something, you can kind of think, I see this. This has never been me at all. It's it that has made a home in me and making me do things and making me blame myself for what you've done through me. I've got it. You're going to confuse me and confound me until I'm dead. And he understood it. I said, you understood it? Yes. It's over. Do you understand? It's not you. There's another you. There's another you in everybody. All trying to hide it. Put a nice face. Or put on a bad one and do unto others what was done to you. That's the story of our lives. We either were victims or victimizers, but remember, the victimizer had to be victim. Because unless he's a victim himself, he doesn't inherit anything. But we can't be born other than a victim, can we? So some of us do the best we can in hiding everything and going along and being the nicest person and the most successful person. That means nothing. It's not success to have a lot of money and a lot of women, whatever it is, a lot of cars. It's not the point. You'll have them anyway. See, I have a nice home. But how do I say this? I don't remember making any decision for anything. It seems like I see it, I do it. I see it, I do it. How else would you do it? There's no left, there's no right. There's no anger, and there's no judgment, and no need to forgive my judging. Because forgiving is playing God, and judging is playing God. So you're screwed either way. You're playing the role. And then you're trying to fix yourself and fix somebody else, and you're a doctor. And you don't know how to fix your own self. And then you're going to die from the same thing from the person you're treating. Most likely. See that?
Can I say something? Yes.
I like it. Come over here. Come on, let's see you.
This week has been
You were here last week. We had an interesting discussion.
Yes. So this week has been one of the best weeks, I believe, in my life. And as you were speaking about women, and
I'm not demoralizing, you know.
please.
No.
So my understanding was that I always knew there was a God, and I always knew he was forgiving. But then that other part of me that you just spoke of always made me believe that my sin, I was unworthy, and how could I ever have
it made you feel that way.
God's forgiveness, because how could I ever, with all the things I've done wrong? So as you've helped me understand that there are two parts to each human, it became very clear this week that I am no longer in alliance with the devil.
Yes.
And as I stand here as a woman who has hurt my 3 daughters through not believing that I was worthy. So I therefore went through life trying to become worthy, but with the devil actually was the one doing it.
You can't give it to yourself.
Right. So so the devil allowed me to go out and try to find my worth through the world. There's no worth through the world. I have now passed that on, of course, I have 3 daughters and a son. And now I see that when you told me that I was forgiven, I finally believe that. And now I know that I have worth.
Yes.
And that worth comes from God. So as a woman, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I've been a whore, I've been a horrible mother and a horrible person. But and maybe they're still there, but today, the love of God himself, who is in every inch of my cells, just like he said, is able to know there's a worth, and I get to stand up, fat and ugly,
I don't see it that way.
And now
I see.
I get to be all the love I ever wanted in my whole life and gave and searched in all the wrong places. And you just have to believe. And to all the women out there, just believe that there's a worth inside of you and
Yes.
you get to be that worth. And no matter what happens to my children, I get to be an example now. Whether they
can choose.
That's right.
They can choose.
I can't choose for them,
That's
unfortunately.
correct.
But it's it's awesome. It's a very freeing. And there's still that yucky stuff inside of me. I can feel it, but
I'm glad.
I don't think it can jump out and look at me and scare me anymore.
I think that's.
And I appreciate your help. I do.
Thank you. I appreciate what you just said to these people. Thank you. See? You know, she's been difficult, hasn't she? You've been coming for a long time.
I've known you for 35 years.
There you are. It took 35 years. But it was worth every minute of it. No, but we're done now. Any other question?
Yeah, I've had a couple things actually that keep coming up, but when you talked about Donald Trump, this is very interesting because I am like Donald in a way, and I never realized it till you said that. But I have this thing in me that since I was a little girl, I would just see the truth about something and I would just pop out with it. But it was not very acceptable, and I learned that early in life that I needed to keep my mouth shut. And so I did, except when the pressure just built up, I would do it. But I would do it then out of resentment and anger.
That's right.
So I've been listening to Donald, and really, I'm saying, yeah, go. And my mother...
I could do his job.
I know.
Yeah.
My mother, this is what I saw the day before yesterday that she passed to me. I mean, she didn't do it on purpose. She doesn't understand.
No, I don't think any woman does it on
No,
purpose.
but she likes another one, that's more calm and soft-spoken. And we talked about it a little bit before, but I found a great article online, and I sent it to her about Donald. It was very funny, but very true, And she emailed me back and said, I could never vote for him. I have to vote for this other one because he's just too brash. And immediately, that thing, I could just see it. Oh, my God, my whole life, that's what, she's done that to me. And I wanted to go at her. I wanted to find some way to talk her out of it, to change her mind.
You won't be able to.
And then I just realized I can't even do this. And as soon as I realized that and I saw that she didn't know, not 20 minutes later, I get another email from somebody else in regards to an article about the Catholic Church that somebody had sent me. And this other person, she sent a couple of other people, so I was replying to all. And this other person wrote in defense of the Catholic Church, although she said she hadn't even read the article, and she was, picking on something that I had said.
I don't know where the Catholic Church comes into this.
Well, no, it's just that something that I said about the church, and she immediately got defensive about
I
it.
see.
So it was the same kind of thing my mother had come back at me with, and she came back. So within 20 minutes,
And your mother's a Catholic?
I saw this. No,
Oh.
it's not that it was Catholic. It could have been anything else, but... I mean, in 2 emails, 20 minutes apart, I saw how that had been done to me my whole life and how I've reacted my whole life and wanting to try to change people so that I don't doubt myself. That's really what it is. So it really was a beautiful thing.
So you'd be more outspoken?
I really want to be. Yes, I do.
To the devil with a consequence. This is how I say it.
That is what, I just can feel it. Like I'm going back to work. I had a shoulder injury. I'm going back to work. I can feel all that pressure coming down on me again because I've asked God my whole life to take it away from me. And now I'm asking him to give me the courage to be able to deal with it properly because I'm tired of running away from it. And I just want to face it, and I want to be like Brenda. I want to live my life. Earlier you said, you can die and not live your life. And
You die having never lived.
Exactly. And that's not going to happen.
See?
Yeah.
Now, I can just amplify it just a little bit.
Yes. Please do.
I told my wife, I say it again, I tell my sons who try to sometimes put pressure on me. I'm getting old, so the tendency is they want to have their way with me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They can't help it. You can't have your way with me. No way. It backfires. Now, let me say it differently. What you are talking about, I have. Okay, you know that.
I do know.
So, and I've had it all my life. I've had it all my life. I don't remember myself being any different. That's how I can write all this stuff when I was just young. And just do it. Stand in front of people, no problem. Be a success in what I do, no problem. I see it, I do it. There's no, oh, I'll think about this. No, on this other side of your brain. It's obvious what's facing you. In the moment, with no preparation, either not be offended or resentful and say something. You don't have to say a lot. Or wait to say something at the appropriate time. It could be a year from now, but you're not resentful, so you don't have to bury anything. And as long as, and that it keeps happening, and so you're not resentful, so you're not burying anything, but you're bearing it. And you're bearing it, so you don't really have to say anything so long as you don't resent it. And that is safety. That is proprietous. It is correct that you don't necessarily speak to something just because you see it. The secret is to see it, not resent it, and if it, in that moment, it's good, proprietous, to speak to it, yes, only in just a few words. It doesn't have to be an argument, really. It's just the words will come out and you don't have to form them. You don't have to think about what you're saying. The only thing you know is, I see it. And then, but it's not a thinking process. I don't know how to explain it. But you know not to say something, but you're not suppressed. You're not suppressing it. And you're not suppressing it. And then all of a sudden blowing up. So you can go for a long time and not say anything, but be true to yourself. I said to a person who came out of prison, the first time he went to prison, it was just last week on the radio, the first time he went to prison was 30 years. The second time he listened to me in prison, but it didn't do him any good. He listened. Just like, she's been listening to me for a long time. And he goes to prison again, he's 61. And he's a Hispanic man, I see the beauty in him. He said, now my family won't accept me. They just laugh at me. I go to try to get a job, and with this background, who's going to give me a job? What do? I don't want to take Social Security. I said, no. Take Social Security. It's my tax money. Use it. And then I want you to do this. You want to become a man? Yes. He said, okay. He's ready. I said, can you count to 100? Yeah. Okay. So at least 100 times, and maybe more. I want you to take the money of welfare, feed yourself. Everybody needs a start. You can't just go from one place and get frustrated and then have to steal in order to eat. Right? That's what Social Security is. Okay, now, take that and now go from place to place all day long, every day, until the 10th time, the 20th time, the 30th time, the 100th time, and each time you are rejected, don't resent it. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. See? And if you keep doing that, and forgiving, and say thank you for considering it. Go to the next one and say thank you for considering it. Oh, by the way, may I say something? You might be able to say something before you go, but you might do it. But when you just, never mind how many times you have to do that. I'm just saying 100. It could be less, it could be more. Just do that and deal with the cruelty. Deal with their judgments on you calmly and be polite. And before you know it, you will have become a man. You won't notice it, but one day a person will look at you, at your integrity and your honesty and the energy that's emanating from you from all this. Say, come in, I'd like to try you. And it will happen. 100%. It will happen.
So then if I deal with
Persevere.
everyone I come in contact with,
Huh?
if I deal like that with everyone I come in contact with and watch myself,
Exactly.
then everything will fall into place.
Everything. And when you speak up, and you're not welcome, and they fire you, you're not meant to be there. If I didn't speak up and they fired me, which they did, I'd still be there or broken somewhere else. I'm here because I spoke up. I endured it until it served me another opportunity. And then I spoke up. It might have advanced me. No, it was jealousy, because I knew more about the business than they did. So you get the manager jealous of you, giving you a hard time, etc., etc. You don't belong there. You will end up where you belong, and that's part of purpose. You can't create your own story. I wouldn't be sitting in here if I didn't do all the things you said. I'm here through thick and thin, through all the troubles I went through, medical, physical, whatever it was, wherever I went, I was me. I went through doors very quickly. I didn't have to go through 100 doors, because the next place, it was only the next business I would go to promote my diamond cutting. That's how it began. Demonstrations to the schools and to, for the jewelry stores. Instead of doing cutting diamonds, I'd be in promotion and helping the station, the stores to have a son of a son of a son of a son of a diamond cutter. See? And so I made a good living. I had $100,000 equivalent when I was 20. But I was not sitting behind in a stuffy room working sweatshop. I was out there. I go back to where I learned my business, back to England, and the apprentices are old men. You see, basically, still there. They had no courage, no intuition. I can remember cutting diamonds at 14. Why am I here? Something would say, you won't always be here. It was okay. Sometimes you get tired and you don't want to do it. You know how that is. And, okay. Had lots of troubles there. I remember just a little story. So I bring my diamond when I was finished with it, and you have to have it examined. And the foreman, this is an anecdote, the foreman that smokes a cigarette, and there's always a yellow streak up his nose where he's smoked that cigarette and it goes up his nose. I never forget it. And he says, it's not done right. It's not done right. So yeah, take it back. So I left it alone for a day or two, gave it to him. He said, oh, that's much better.
Yeah.
See? I'm not going to be confused. You got devils everywhere, right? So you need to, I'm giving you so many clues. Just don't react. Don't judge. Let it go. Let your parents go. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, let them all go. You will not have to make a decision. You see it, how else would you do it? That's the attitude. There's not a left, there's not a right, there's no hesitation, there's no reluctance to do it and push yourself. It's a flow that goes where you should go. Right? Can you go back now and do your job?
Yeah.
My daughter thinks you're worthwhile. My daughter thinks you are worthwhile. You're a fine young man. And a young lady would be good for you, that the right one will come along. Just leave them alone. And you become attractive. And then you've got to be careful. Not tonight, Josephine. Got it?
Yeah,
Make purpose. Be a gentleman. See? Treat ladies as if somebody else's kids. A father's kids who doesn't really care, but you do. Got it?
that's what your daughter asked me to be. She said when I,
Huh?
she said because the position I had in the company, I have to be like a father to the.
You got it. She knows. What's your first name?
Omar.
Omar. That was the gentleman's name that I spoke to, that I said to keep persevering. He came out of prison. And the other guy that had the possession, I said, just look at it and look at it, and it knows that you're no longer subject to it because you found out that it's not you speaking. It says not your problem, so you don't have to be scared about the next thing. It's it. And once you recognize it, it shrinks. It can't bear the light like the vampire, that pulls someone pulls the shade from the church, and the light comes in and he melts. No, that's what happens. Just let the light.
Sometimes that it will always shrink. Always it will shrink.
I beg your pardon?
The evil will always shrink.
It will shrink.
But sometimes it comes to you
Yes.
very big and very strong to make you afraid, or it comes to just this much, a lot to make you afraid. Always, I'm there, I'm going to get
Got
you.
it. Got it.
And then you just say,
But let me say what she says. So let me say what she means by that. Yeah. That's it. Let me say what she means by that. Because I remember bicycling to work. And during the winter time. And so I lock my door and get down the stairs, and somebody says, you didn't lock the door. I said, well, I go back and check it. And I pull the door, pulled on the knob, push and pulled it. No, it's locked. Halfway to work, 10 miles, something says, but you really didn't lock the door. I said, screw you. I locked the door. I don't know who you are. That's the end of it. And every now and then I marry my wife. You understand? A man, when he gets married, is tested for his fidelity, tested for his strength, gentle strength with the women. They need sometimes years and years and years before, and it is shaping you into it. It's like the person who goes from door to door, it's the 100th door. So now you're stuck with the 100th door over and over again. See, in other words, they don't give up. What's in them doesn't give up. They're going to keep testing you. They're going to blame you for being because you're not so sexually active. That's what it boils down to. They're going to think that you imagine that you're having sex with other women, because how could men be that way? They got these ideas in their heads, see, and they're resenting you. And you know that. And then you get accused. I'll give you a typical thing. You come in, you say, hello, honey, how you doing? I don't do that, but men do that. You're not going to get me to do what I just said. See? He says, so she's got a sour face. And what's the matter? Nothing. So, no, it's not her. No, it's not like that. But it's typical. So, well, what's the matter? Nothing. Well, what did I do? Nothing. And she doesn't tell you. She just made up something. But she believes it, that it was real. You didn't bring a gallon of milk home with you. But she never asked you. She's resenting you for not doing it, not saying anything. She's enjoying the judgment. All you have to do is wave that off. Frustrate the crap out of her. Excuse the expression. Frustrate her and stay cool until she breaks. Let her scream, let her yell. Let her take it out in the kids' nose, get in front of them. Do it to me. The kids will feel defense. Kids will really start to be protected from the influence of the mother. Stand between them. Got it? You want to fight somebody? Take it out on me. I can handle it. Have you finished? Got it? You got to put up with that. That's what marriage is all about. And nobody gets away with that. Everybody dies from it. 80%, we have almost 80% divorce rate. Well, I'm going to get out of this here. Go to the door. Lock the door. You're not getting anywhere. You cool yourself down. Got it? Not making my dinner? The very first time I was married to her, she's not going to give me my dinner because whatever it is, she was resenting. I said, oh, this is like, this is the true story. Okay, you're going to make my dinner. And she cooked the chicken at 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't eat it. Then we go to bed. That's it. I go to sleep. Not bed. Not with that. See that? I've learned my experience, and I've got a lot of willful kids in my family. And so they sometimes try to play with their grandpa. You haven't got a chance of snowflake in hell. You can just break yourself on me. That's how you need to be. You can be that way. You're a nice little lady, but you have a lot of power. And the power is the energy of the field. The strength that quietly keeps you safe from them, but they're not safe with you. Because the more they come at you, the calmer you get. Each door you knock at makes you stronger when you get ridiculed, right? Hold your ground, don't move. As you keep moving from moment to moment, all the day long, there's things like that can irritate you. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be not people even. Do you understand? It could be circumstances. Oh, I lost my purse. See? Panic, right? None of that. I just lost my purse. Go find it. You try to everything we try to fix with being angry, as if it could make the purse appear. Right? So if you are not reacting, that doesn't mean you're a coward. It means you're standing your ground. You're not tempted to react in any way, to give in or to get mad. Either way. Doesn't mean.
What if you are? What if I am reacting inside, but if I'm watching it?
Goes away.
So
It's
even though I can feel all that stuff roiling around,
just watch
as long
it. Don't
as
struggle
I look
with
at
it. Don't struggle. Don't enter into struggling
Okay.
with it. It will overcome you. Don't try
Right.
to save yourself from it. It will overcome you.
Try trying to skin it, thinking, trying to figure out how to do it, scheming in your head.
We'll give the phone to. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm starting to realize and see it clearly now is that I'm constantly thinking of how to get over on them, how to get the edge, the thinking again. And that thinking gets
It's
the
not
anger
necessary.
going, the anger, the fear, and pretty soon you're to an answer and you,
Not necessary.
not necessary at all.
No.
It's gone away from me. It's
But
like
now,
gone.
in psychological warfare,
Yes.
when you have dangerous people, I mean, the story, I don't know if I have a time. How much? What time is it? It's almost time. We know we've been sitting here 2 hours. Your preacher doesn't give 2 hours. He gives half an hour, and you can't stand that.
Actually, almost 3 hours now.
Is it real?
Dude,
It's just 2 hours.
Oh, that's wrong.
Yes, right. Okay. So, but I'll just finish this. Where was I now? What?
terrorists, something about terrorists,
No.
psychological.
There are sometimes you have to fight. See, I'm expert at psychological warfare. If you don't mind me saying that braggadociously,
No,
if I understand all this,
yeah.
I can use it.
Mhm.
See, and there was one time I remember that I really did a number on a lot of people. I mean, they wish they hadn't messed with me. It's the story of me in the Institute of Hypnosis taking all the business away from the psychiatrists. And American Medical Association decided they want to put me in prison. Okay? Practicing medicine without a license. I had a release form, everybody found. I had a weak secretary. He said, I'll sign it when I come back tomorrow. And this was his sickness. He was an alcoholic. That's all. He wanted hypnosis to get rid of it. So he tells me what it is, but he's had a psychiatrist hypnotizing him against being hypnotized. So now you have a compromised witness, see, which we did. I'm not involved with any legality up to that time. So I don't know what. So I have a lawyer volunteer because it's all over the newspapers, right? And so, let's see how it went from there. It's such a long time and from there. Forgive me just for a second. I don't want to just make something up. Anyway, I got arrested. When there was 3 other hypnotists. They all got off for that same thing. I didn't because I had a bad lawyer, a compromised witness, right?
Yeah,
But they made him the president of the
Better Business.
Better Business Bureau. Yes, you heard the story before.
Yes.
So this is what happened. I realized he was a hypnotic subject, and he's being analyzed and helped by a psychiatrist who they chose for him to do the thing and hypnotized him against being hypnotized. Really real junk. It was a huge things in the headlines in the paper, and so I ended up going to jail for 30 days, but I never stopped. I never stopped helping the. And the headlines read, "Hypnotist practices spells in cells." So anyway, people were bringing their kids to the prison, believe it or not. See. But I carried on my work inside the prison. The inmates pulled me aside. I was helping them all to overcome their problems. I was doing in jail what I went to jail for, right? It was only 30 days. So the warden says, "Please, Roy, stop this because it's all political, and we know that you're harmless." I said, "I can't stop it. Sorry, sir." See, so he put me in a solitary. The prisoners got together, made sure I had chicken every day. I could afford it, but they couldn't, but they did. And so, story. They put the person who was hypnotized into the Better Business Bureau, and he took my license away. So I couldn't function. So I got my camera and went door to door, take pictures, enlarged them and made a nice living. See, because I know how to print and take pictures. And I have all kinds of skills. So, so then I went, they put him in a building. And the building was next to like that, like a pyramid. Pyramid, yeah. And in the middle is a square, so you go up the elevator to the Better Business Bureau. On this side, there's a restaurant. In the restaurant, I sat there in the window. He passed me every day for 6 months. I was there just having a coffee and sandwich, right? And when I saw he has been intimidated enough by my presence, I went up there and said, I want to speak to Mr. Schmegegi. I don't remember his name. I said, I want to talk to him, please. I want to have a discussion with him about this and put it to rest. She picks it up. Roy Master's here. No, she doesn't want to see me. Tell him he's a coward. And Mr. Master says, you're a coward. I did it. Comes out 6'3", 300 pounds. You know? I said, you have it in your mind to hit me, don't you? Do it. See, I hypnotized him by intimidation. That's all it takes. Who's going to intimidate? That's my psychological warfare. I've done that lots of times, to take down people who need to be taken down. See, so he ran out of. He wanted to hit me, but the only alternative is to run, hit or run. He ran away. No one ever saw him again. And then they put another person in power. I told them the story. They gave me my license back. I finished my work. Another 6 months. I got thousands records and things like that, you know, and booklets made in a winding machine, whatever you call them. And so, and went out of town. But before I went out of town, I picked up the phone to the psychiatrist. I said, you know who this is? He says, yes. Do you think I'm a better hypnotist than you? You just barely know what the hell you're doing. See, I said, what if I was to hypnotize a person at a certain date, long gone, and a certain date, a woman would call you and say, and call rape while she's talking to you, while you're in a private talk with her? What would you think of that? Do you think I could do that to you? I wouldn't, of course. Click. What do you think was implied?
It was a suggestion that he
Yeah,
probably
I
would or
wouldn't do
would
it,
not, but the
but
doubt
he'd
in his
believe.
mind.
That's right.
Yeah, the doubt in his
So
mind.
now he had a lot of trouble for the next year, I guarantee you. See that? And I went away. Psychological warfare is necessary.
That's the technique that they used on the Manchurian candidate.
Yeah. I want to tell you, if I could get on radio, if I had enough radio stations, like Donald Trump, he's pretty good. He doesn't understand what I understand, but I could be very helpful. But if I could get people to listen to the 3-minute meditation, if I had enough money to do that, but the point is it has to generate its own self. There's no point in giving me lots of money. You don't have enough to reach 300 million people. See? The very fact that it's happening would scare the pants off the White House because they wouldn't be able to stop it. See? I would change that. I would help wake them up from their trance, and they'll see him for what he is, and all hell will break loose in a good way. See, that's it. So I'm hoping something will happen like that, because they're already afraid of me. See. Well, thank you very much for. I hope I haven't worn you out. No. And you're going to be fine.
Thank you, Roy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, that sweaty hand is anxiety. You'll be all right. every thing reveals itself, you know? A behavior. People like me who are opposite to me can exploit you. You see you coming from a long way away. I could hypnotize a person walking down the street. It's easy. Everybody's so sensitive. So sensitive they won't even know they're hypnotized. But that's another subject. I do recommend that you go to the social media, what do they call it?
Facebook.
Yeah, and put in Roy Master's hypnosis demonstration, and you will see that I could put... Is it YouTube? Mm-hmm. Thank you. On YouTube, and you can see me talking to a group of 500 people, and taking one person as an example of how the person could be caused to speak my words, think my words, without knowing that they did it. And the more I tried to convince them, I made them to try to make them see that I did it, the more rigid they become. So if I make them take their shoes off and put them on the wrong feet, and say ahead of time, I'm going to do it, and you're going to make an excuse. Do you understand that before you come up? Yes. That's exactly what he does. Takes his shoes off, put them on the wrong feet, and tries to convince the audience they have the shoes on wrong. I said, do you remember what I said? Yes. What did I say? You said I was going to mesmerize you and make you take off your shoes, and you're going to make excuses for it. What are you doing now? Oh, I just got my feet feel funny, and they didn't feel right. Couldn't make him see it. Well, and then I said to the audience, what case? What else? If I could do that, what can the devil do? See that? We're all, the whole country, mesmerized in some way. Some for, some against. The some for are not strong enough to do the ones that are really sick. Because you see, they're really sick, and you're halfway sick. That's not good enough, you'll lose. It's easy to be rotten, a little bit more difficult to be really good, rather than just pretend to be a good Christian. It's too late. You got 88% Christianity, and they won't stand a chance against 20% of the left. Not a chance.
One of the things that the early Christians lost to the Muslims is because the church was all divided. There's many churches.
Of course.
And
we need to be connected to
one
them.
group would see one group get decimated, and they say, well, we're not that group.
I'm
So-
on the radio telling you got to give up your stupid religions,
Yeah.
your program religions. You've got to be program religions. How can you have so many?
Yeah.
Why isn't there one God and one people?
It's pretty simple.
This could happen to America because we have one nation full of different flavors.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so if we get all the different flavors together,
We would have had Romney as president if
That's
they
right.
wouldn't have voted for, not voted for him.
thank you so much and support my program, ladies and gentlemen. Post Office Box 1000, Grants Pass, Oregon 97528. Is it 1-800-87?
975-228.
Also,
Yeah.
active on Facebook and Twitter.
Facebook and Twitter. That's where we'll be, Facebook and Twitter. Twitter. All right. Thank you.